Because unironically, if Gaetz was publicly like, yeah, I'm pro-sex work, and also did not sleep with minors, most of this would not be a problem for me. But then he had to add pedophilia and also being a massive hypocrite. I could not write a fantasy novel as condemning of the Trump administration, Roger Stone, Matt Gaetz, and Joel Greenberg than just the reality of what we're going to be seeing play out in court. We're continuing to get developments about Matt Gaetz' trial. Recently, Matt Gaetz hired a ton of big shot out-of-town lawyers. And the reason he hired a bunch of out-of-town big shot lawyers, most analysts say, is because he's not taking a plea bargain. He is not going to be pleading guilty. He's going to take this to trial. Now, it makes sense that the big shot politician is going to take this to trial when the allegation is you are a pedophile. Allegations like that end political careers. And if you're found guilty for sex trafficking a minor, yeah, you're not going to be holding elected office again. I mean, I don't know. I've seen wilder things happen in this country, but at least that's something I can hope for, okay? I mean, we all saw what happened to Roy Moore, and then we got the Democrat Doug Jones in the Senate because of Roy Moore's, let's just say, disgusting conduct. Now, as we continue to get developments about this case, we've gotten another development, and that is in a bombshell letter where a friend of Matt Gaetz who is involved in all of this, who would have been involved in said sex trafficking, said that Gaetz paid for sex with minor. As in the minor in question, the 17-year-old that was talked about in the Venmo payments. And not only that, but that he saw him personally have sex with a minor. Let's read the article. A confession letter written by Joel Greenberg in the final months of Trump's presidency claims that he and close associate Representative Matt Gaetz paid for sex with multiple women, as well as a girl who was 17 at the time. On more than one occasion, this individual was involved in sexual activities with several of the other girls. The congressman from Florida's 1st Congressional District and myself, Greenberg wrote in reference to the 17-year-old. From the time to time, gas money or gifts, rent or partial tuition payments were made to several of these girls, including the individual who is not yet 18. He doesn't want to say a minor. Meaning that Matt Gaetz and Joel Greenberg were making tuition payments for their college in order to have sex with these girls. By the way, can I just be clear? Isn't Matt Gaetz a married man? Not only is it, this would be disgusting no matter what, but last time I checked, he was married. I did see the acts occur firsthand, and the Venmo transactions, Cash App, or other payments were made to these girls on behalf of the congressman. So to be clear, so far, the evidence against Matt Gaetz is an admission from his close personal colleague and friend, who himself was also engaged in said activities. We have the Venmo payments, and now it's building up with Cash App payments and other payments as well. Okay, this is the evidence that is building on Matt Gaetz the pedophile. The letter which the Daily Beast recently obtained was written after Greenberg, who was under federal indictment, asked Roger Stone to help him secure a pardon from then-President Donald Trump. Could you imagine? I mean, you know, a lot of these QAnon people believe that Donald Trump is a crusader against child sex trafficking. Could you imagine the mental gymnastics we would have to watch happen and occur if Donald Trump, who is close friends with Jeffrey Epstein, by the way, pardoned Matt Gaetz for sex trafficking, or pardoned Joel Greenberg in this instance through Roger Stone for sex trafficking? Also, I believe, I'd have to go back and check, that Roger Stone denied this. A series of private messages starting in late 2020, also recently obtained by the Daily Beast, shows a number of exchanges between Greenberg and Stone conducted over the encrypting messaging app Signal, with communications set to disappear. However, Greenberg appears to have taken screenshots of a number of these conversations. If I get you 250,000 in Bitcoin, would that help, or is this not a financial matter? Greenberg wrote to Stone, one message shows. I understand all of this and have taken it into consideration, Stone replied. I will know more in the next 24 hours. I cannot push too hard because of the nonsense surrounding pardons. This fucking weird pedophile sex trafficking creep, Joel Greenberg, Matt Gaetz' pedophile buddy, offered $250,000 in Bitcoin to Roger Stone so he could get a pardon from President Trump, the so-called anti-child sex trafficking crusader, who is, of course, also close personal friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Dude, I could not write a fantasy novel as condemning of the Trump administration, Roger Stone, Matt Gaetz, and Joel Greenberg than just the reality of what we're going to be seeing play out in court. I hope you're prepared to wire me $250,000 because I am feeling confident Stone wrote to Greenberg on January 13th. Again, even though we have documented evidence of this, Stone denies this. In a text message to the Daily Beast, Stone said Greenberg had tried to hire him to assist with the pardon, but he denied asking for or receiving pendant or interceding on his behalf, even though, of course, documented evidence. And why would it be in Bitcoin, by the way? Could it be possible that they wanted to cover something like this up? I don't know. I wonder why someone would want to cover up pardons based in sex trafficking by using Bitcoin. Who knows? He did, however, confirmed he had Greenberg prepare a document explaining his prosecution. In the private text messages to Stone, Greenberg described his activities with Gaetz, repeatedly referring to the Republican congressman by his initials MG or as Matt. My lawyers that I fired know the whole story about Matt's involvement. They know he paid me to pay the girls, and that he and I both had sex with the girl who was underage. As part of the effort to obtain a pardon, Greenberg wrote multiple drafts of his confession letter. The Daily Beast obtained 2 typed versions and an earlier handwritten one. Certified forensic document examiner and handwriting expert Wendy Carlson compared the letter to writing samples obtained through 2 public record requests. She said it was her professional expert opinion that the person who authored a 2019 financial disclosure for Joel Greenberg, as well as Greenberg's 2020 Board of Elections form, was the same author of the letter. My God, I'm sorry. This shit's fucking crazy, man. And the thing is, there's so many of these QAnon people, right? Who constantly go out there like, I am against sex trafficking. We are here to fight the pedophiles. Joe Biden the pedo, even though there's no documented evidence of him being a pedophile. I am against all of this. And that's why I support Donald Trump, the man who is close personal friends with Jeffrey Epstein and has tons of allegations against him. And people like Matt Gaetz, somebody who has Venmo payments to people admitting to sex trafficking and is currently being charged with sex trafficking a minor. And people are saying, yes, I saw him have sex with the minor. Yes, I took money from him to pay the minors he and I had sex with. I hope that doesn't get clipped out of context. That would be tragic. Jesus. Fuck. My God. But again, why does any of that matter when we have a bigger enemy?
Globalist.
In those letters, Greenberg detailed his relationship with Gaetz. He confessed to paying young women for sex, and he claimed that he, Gaetz, and others had sex with a minor they believed to be 19 at the time. Greenberg said he learned she was underage on September 4th, 2017 from an anonymous tip and quickly contacted Gaetz. Now this is where the spin doctoring happens. This right here, we don't have confirmation for. We have admissions to having sex with minors. We have documented texts where Joel Greenberg is offering, and Roger Stone seems very happy about, offering hundreds of thousands of dollars in Bitcoin for pardons for President Trump. We have paid Venmo payments from Matt Gaetz to Joel Greenberg for payments to have sex with young women. But we don't have evidence for them not even knowing if she was 19 or not. Which, again, wouldn't make this any better since it is the adult's responsibility to find out if the person they are having sex with is a minor. Definitely, if you engaging with sex acts with them would lead to charges like sex trafficking minors. Greenberg continued in his handwritten draft that he confronted the then 17-year-old and explained to her how serious of a situation this was and how many people she put in danger. She apologized and recognized by lying about her age, she endangered many people. There was no further contact with the... To be clear, Greenberg is now placing the blame on her. And of course, if she did lie about her age, even though that's the one thing we apparently don't have evidence for, if she did lie about her age, she does have fault for lying about her age, but you still have fault for sex trafficking a minor and having sex with a minor. You're the adult here. It is your responsibility not to, I don't know, stumble into sex trafficking. By the way, I do find it a little difficult to believe this part of the story when he follows it up with this. But after she reached the age of legal consent in Florida, Greenberg reestablished contact. About 5 months after her 18th birthday, Gaetz sent Greenberg $900 in two Venmo transactions, one titled Test and the other titled Hit Up Blank. The blank contained a nickname for this girl, and Greenberg paid her and two other women a total of $900 about 6 hours later. Oh my god, I just had sex with a minor. Well, here's more money to have sex with minors. Yes, you seem very shaken by the fact that you just participated in sex trafficking. Well, guess I'm gonna pay for more. How are you supposed to make me believe any of the bullshit you're spilling if we have financial evidence of you continuing to pay to have sex with these young girls? How am I supposed to buy any of this? In his confession letter, Greenberg also admitted he facilitated Gaetz' interactions with college students and paid them on his behalf. All of the girls were in college or post-college, and it was not uncommon for either myself or the congressman to help any one of these girls financially, whether it was a car payment, a flight home to see their family, or something as simple as helping paying a speeding ticket. A partial record of Greenberg's Venmo and Cash App transactions suggests the payments were usually for a lot more than gas money, as well as 70 more additional payments on Cash App that were generally between $300, $500, and those some exceeding $1,000. Now, take this in consideration when the majority of Americans can't pay for a $400 emergency, and Matt Gaetz and his pedo buddies are just throwing out dollar bills in order to have sex with minors. But this is obviously gas money. I mean, guys, who doesn't pay $1,000 for gas? I mean, under these dastardly Democrats, gas prices have gone through the roof. I mean, come on. Can I also say, even though this is all tangential to the fact that Matt Gaetz and Joel Greenberg, who, by the way, was a Republican, a politician in Florida, by the way, who not of the same national prominence of Matt Gaetz, he was, by the way, he's on trial for a lot more than just this. The dude, did some identity theft stuff. He used, public funds to buy drones. And, look, that's a whole other story. Then I think he wrote, he did a cryptocurrency operation out of public buildings. That's a whole other story that I do not have time to go into right now. But besides all of this, because let me give a hot tip for everybody at home. Don't stumble into sex trafficking or having sex with minors if you are an adult person, okay? I'm sorry, Matt, but you're not covered by Romeo and Juliet laws. You're a little old. But here's a secondary point that is next to all of that. Can I also just talk about the hypocrisy for just one moment? The hypocrisy of the buttoned-up Republican Party. that needs to crack down on all this dastardly sex work that goes down in these terrible crime-ridden Democrat communities, these Democrat-run cities. And then immediately, when the camera's off of them, they pay sex worker after sex worker after sex worker for sexual favors. That, of course, is separate from the sex with a minor because, again, they're a minor. The Daily Beast also talked to 12 of the more than 40 different women who received money, and they all said they understood Greenberg was paying them, at least in part, for sex. All 12. I thought it was just gas money. Greenberg, a disgraced local politician in Florida, currently faces a sweeping 33-count indictment that ranges from stalking to sex trafficking. In March, the New York Times revealed that the initial investigation into Seminole County tax official expanded as agents looked into his role in arranging paid sexual encounters for his friend, Matt Gaetz. Federal prosecutors have not criminally charged Gaetz or even publicly confirmed the expansion of their probe. While Gaetz acknowledges the existence of the investigation, he denies having sex with an underage teen. But at some point, Greenberg began to cooperate with investigators, a development his lawyer has suggested poses a serious problem for Gaetz. This is, of course, at the same time, Gaetz hired a ton of high-priced, out-of-state lawyers to come in and start his legal defense while he continues to fight for the working man on the Capitol. I don't know what else to say about this story. I really don't. All I could say is pedophilia bad, don't have sex with minors, and don't be a hypocrite when it comes to sex work. Because unironically, if Gaetz was publicly like, yeah, I'm pro-sex work, and also did not sleep with minors, most of this would not be a problem for me. But then he had to add pedophilia and also being a massive hypocrite. Also, can I just talk about this interview? I don't know if you guys saw the Matt Gaetz Tucker Carlson interview. So, I don't know if you guys saw this. It was a disaster for both Matt Gaetz and Tucker Carlson. And apparently, Tucker Carlson was not very happy for a lot of Matt Gaetz's conduct during this interview. Because in this interview, Matt Gaetz basically tries to drag Tucker Carlson into it.
Congressman, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it. So this is obviously a serious allegation. Tell us what the truth is from your perspective.
It is a horrible allegation, and it is a lie. The New York Times is running a story that I have traveled with a 17-year-old woman, and that is verifiably false. People can look at my travel records and see that that is not the case. What is happening is an extortion of me and my family involving a former Department of Justice official. On March 16th, my father got a text message demanding a meeting wherein
Listen to this story.
Demanded $25 million in exchange for making horrible sex trafficking allegations against me.
Listen to this story he's spinning. Listen to this shit.
Go away. Our family was so troubled by that, we went to the local FBI. And the FBI and the Department of Justice were so concerned about this attempted extortion of a member of Congress that they asked my dad to wear a wire, which he did with the former Department of Justice official. Tonight, I am demanding that the Department of Justice and the FBI release the audio recordings that were made under their supervision and at their direction, which will prove my innocence and that will show that these allegations aren't true.
By the way, even if everything Matt Gaetz is saying here is 100% true, that doesn't disprove that he's a fucking pedophile. The Venmo payments, Joe Greenberg's testimony, Joe Greenberg's admission, Joe Greenberg's $250,000 Bitcoin offer to Roger Stone for a Trump pardon, the 33-count indictments on Joe Greenberg, Matt Gaetz referring to the girl with nicknames, the follow-ups 5 months later, all of that documented. It's right there. It's proof. That's all fact. What he's saying does not change the fact of all this evidence building against him as he hires all these big-time, out-of-town, expensive lawyers to fight his case here.
They're merely intended to try to bleed my family out of money. And this former Department of Justice official tomorrow was supposed to be contacted
by the way, this right here, this interview, for a lot of QAnoners who, of course, for a very long time have been like, we are the anti-pedophile people. We are fighting the deep state down in the tunnels, and that's the real issue here. The real issue here, everybody, is the deep state and the pedophile rings and everything. And then their golden boy, Matt Gaetz, all this comes out, and what happens? Oh, instead of facing reality and all the building evidence, they go about and say, actually, this is a plot against the deep state to make us turn against him, so we stand with him more than ever now. So you got the anti-pedophile QAnoners standing with the dude that was sex trafficking minors to fight Joe Biden, who somehow, with no evidence, is the real pedophile. Brilliant.
My father, so that specific instructions could be given regarding the wiring of $4.5 million as a down payment on this bribe. I don't think it's a coincidence that tonight, somehow, the New York Times is leaking this information, smearing me, and ruining the investigation that would likely result in one of the former colleagues of the...
Wait, to be clear. So, now that's the New York Times. What about the Daily Beast reporting? Okay, and what about Joel Greenberg? Are you telling me that the Republican Florida tax county person, your personal friend, that we can confirm is your personal friend, is also just smearing you? Is that what's going on? Why do you think he was offering $250,000 in Bitcoin to Roger Stone? Usually you don't just offer up $250,000 in Bitcoin if you're lying. And also, you don't offer that type of money in Bitcoin, usually if you want people to see what the fuck was going on.
The current DOJ being brought to justice for trying to extort me and my family.
So a couple of obvious questions that come to mind, and again, just to restate, this just happened, don't have any other information beyond what we've already said and you have said. First of all, who is this Department of Justice former employee who's trying to extort the money from you, you say?
His name is David McGee. He was a top...
Can I just say, again, even if it's all true, David McGee sounds like the fakest name on the planet. Even if it's true. I'm sorry, David McGee. Yes, I'm Bob Person Face. Okay, David McGee. Yeah, I'm John Smith. Exactly.
Official in the leadership in the Northern District of Florida.
Oh yeah, innocent people seek pardons, obviously. Yeah, exactly.
As a prosecutor, he currently works at the Beggs and Lane law firm. As a matter of fact, one of the recordings that was made at the FBI and Department of Justice request occurred at that law firm, and the money that was supposed to be paid today that would have shown even more evidence of David McGee's work in this extortion scheme, that was foiled by the New York Times story, and I believe that's why this horrible information and these terrible allegations have been used this evening.
So and I'll get to the investigation in a sec, but you're saying that David McGee was motivated by greed.
I'm sorry, David McGee, just the name, man, it's killing me.
He was trying to extort money from your family. That's his motivation, you're saying.
I know that there was a demand for money in exchange for a commitment that he could make this investigation go away along with his co-conspirators. They even claim to have specific connections inside the Biden White House. Now, I don't know if that's true.
See, there's the deep state connection he's making. See, it's all the deep state. And that's how he was able to calm down his base when all of this broke.
We're promising.
I wonder how long he can do that as more and more evidence mounts.
Joe Biden would pardon me. Obviously, I don't need a pardon. I'm not seeking a pardon. I have not.
Well, then why did Joe Greenberg seek a pardon with $250,000 in Bitcoin as his offer for a pardon, while admitting that he watched you have sex with a minor? I mean, it's one thing to say not only that, like, hey, here's all the payment information showing that he did have sex with a minor and that I know he had sex with a minor, but he said he saw you have sex with the minor, man.
Not done anything improper or wrong. But what I am troubled by is the real motivation for all of this. You know, just tonight, Ted Lieu, a Democrat, is calling on me to be removed from the House Judiciary Committee. And I believe we are
Ted Lieu takes an anti-pedophile stance. Shocking.
in an era of our politics now, Tucker, where people are smeared to try to take them out of the conversation. I'm not the only person on screen right now who's been falsely accused of a terrible sex act.
See, I forgot how bad it was. But listen to Matt Gaetz and watch Tucker Carlson's face here, right?
I'm not the only person on screen right now who's been falsely accused of a terrible sex act. You were accused of something that you did not do, and so you know what this feels like. You know the pain it can bring to your family, and you know how it just puts people on defense when you're accused of something so salacious and awful. But it did not happen. It is not true. And the fact that it is the basis of this attempt to extort my family tells a lot. And if the FBI and Department of Justice will release the tapes that they are in possession of, the American...
You just look at those eyes, man. Look at those eyes. And reportedly, if I remember correctly at the time, Tucker Carlson was not very happy about this interview because Tucker viewed this as Matt Gaetz dragging him into this.
People will see what is really going on.
You just referred to a mentally ill viewer who accused me of a sex crime 20 years ago, and of course it was not true. I never met the person. But I do agree with you that being accused falsely is one of the worst things that can happen, and you do see it a lot. Let's go back to the investigation.
Shift away. Anyway, this story's wild. The fact that Matt Gaetz still has defenders at this point is strange to me. I think the evidence is mounting, and quite honestly, we're only going to see more evidence come out. I mean, at this point, we're just waiting. We're just waiting for more to pile out. Somebody hit a leaky pipe, and it's only a matter of time before more and more spills out. Absolutely wild.